Craig in the Great White North. Okay, that's up north a ways. He writes and he said, Paul, I was sitting here listening to some really great recordings. And I thought it would be a great idea to know what speakers the producers did the final mix on for all the recordings that I have. That way we could get a feel for how the end result was EQ'd to compensate for the speaker's frequency response, etc. Your thoughts, sir? Yeah, that is a very logical conclusion. I don't think it would do you a lot of good. One of the stories that I love to tell was when Keith Johnson, who was the recording and mixing and mastering engineer at Reference Recordings, he and I were talking, and he goes, boy, you wouldn't want to hear anything on my monitor speakers. To most people, they sound like crap, but it works for me. It tells me everything I need to know, and I never listen to the final mix on that to make sure. So he'll mix on it, but then when he goes to listen, he's got his pair of probably Wilsons and Spectral. They're big, tied together, and that's a great sounding system. At Octave Records, so far we're using these ATCs, which are kind of the industry standard, or one of the industry standards. There's the the NS10s, but these speakers are kind of an accepted standard. When I'm up here listening to them make a mix, it sounds good. It's not what I would want to represent to you, though. I mean, and it's well known, I'm not a big fan of these. When it comes to musical reproduction in the home, I wouldn't have a pair of these. They serve their purpose here, but whenever I listen to final mixes, I take them upstairs to my hi-fi system, right? And it sounds very different. So one of the struggles that Jay Elliott and Giselle Coyazzo have had getting used to everything at Octave Records is interpreting what they hear here so that it'll sound good up there in Music Room 3. Because ultimately, that's what matters, how it sounds in your stereo. And we use that as our ultimate reference. So they know that when these sound a little bright, it's probably about right. When these sound a little bit this way and that way, where normally you'd say, oh no, turn it down, do this or that. If you do that, it won't sound right on the other speakers. And those other speakers, our references, are more accurate to represent what people listen to at home than these ever will be. So it's tough. It's a real ball breaker. I mean, eventually, as we continue to build out Octave Records, what I want to do is something that I think is closer to what you're asking for up there in the Great Northwest, or Great White North, is to have identical speakers to the reference, right? If your ultimate goal is to mix something so that when you listen to it on these reference speakers, they just roll your socks down and blow you, I mean, it's like, wow, this is it. Print it. Then it would make sense to mix with that exact same system, right? Nobody seems to do that. I've never understood why. But we will do that at one point. Okay, hope that answers your question. Okay, take it easy. Bye.